In my opinion, we should stick to the truth, which says that without the Soviet Red Army, the Russian army, practically no Eastern European country, including the Balkans, would have been liberated. They suffered the greatest losses. 27 to 30 million people are said to have died in the Soviet Union. In other words, in Russia in World War II. And those who were certainly defeated in that war are now attempting to return in different ways with the same ideology that has already once led the world into total chaos. That's why it's important to be here and talk about those hardships and the significance of World War II. Some people, particularly Europeans, are seeking to impose their values on us. The fact is that today 28 countries of the European Union and the collective West are waging war against Russia by means of Ukraine. It means that this is not just a regional conflict, it has the elements of a world war. About 35 countries have united and have been waging war against Russia for 3 years. Of course, via Ukraine. President of Russia Vladimir Putin is a man who knows well where Russia stands and where the world stands. And he absolutely rightfully responded by launching the special military operation. After numerous deceits, one of which was the Minsk agreements, signed by Russian President Putin, former German Chancellor Angela Merkel, former French President François Hollande and others, and by Ukraine, do not remember the representative. The point is that Merkel later admitted that it was a deceit to buy time to. The point is that Merkel later admitted that it was a deceit to buy time to strengthen Ukraine, to prepare for the final crackdown on Russia. This shows how far-sighted President Putin was. He prevented a conflict that they had planned to break out within Russia. Russia remains consistent. We should recognize this and be grateful to Russia, a great and mighty power that has never used force. Russia has never fought outside its territories. It is well known that the Kyiv authorities have done everything to make life difficult for Russians, depriving them of their language, alphabet, and faith in certain regions of Ukraine. It all goes back in history. For example, Crimea is historically part of Russia. It was simply once admitted to another entity within the Soviet Union, not to another country. It was an administrative change within the Soviet Union. And of course, all of this explains that Russia is surely defending its own in what is now still called Ukraine. It defends its people. There are 15 million Russians living there. When one U.S. citizen somewhere in the world has a problem, Washington intervenes immediately. And Russia, it turns out, does not have the right to protect its 15 million or more nationals, does it? Everything that has been done is clear, and I have great respect for the vision and leadership that Putin has. He has warded off this conflict, despite the fact that it concerns people, actual brothers, living on this territory, especially with Ukrainians. He did not tolerate operations that would have led to mass deaths of civilians. I think we will soon analyze the laws passed by the National Assembly and the government of Republika Srpska. Wherever we see obstacles, we will react to them. Perhaps in the near future we will adopt a law to abolish the Republika Srpska prosecutor's office and the Republika Srpska court, because they are of no use in defending the constitutional position of the Republika Srpska. They have completely given up and are acting in the interests of Muslim intentions from Sarajevo, not in the interests of Republika Srpska itself. As professionals, they should have acted, but they did nothing. They are afraid of the Supreme Judicial and Prosecutorial Council, afraid of disciplinary penalties or of not having their mandate renewed. What kind of patriots are you after that? Do you think we don't see this? Most likely, I will be the one to propose that in the very near future, the law on the court and the prosecutor's office of the... What kind of patriots are you after that? Do you think we don't see this? Most likely, I will be the one to propose that in the very near future, the law on the court and the prosecutor's office of the Republika Srpska will be repealed, and immediately after that, a new law on the prosecutor's office and the court will be adopted, but with a new appointment system. That is, the establishment of the Supreme Judicial and Prosecutorial Council of the Republika Srpska, because the current attempts have yielded nothing. They tell us that all this is legal, but everyone knows very well that it is not. Mrs. Bosnia and Herzegovina Presidency Chairperson Zelka Svjanovic, on behalf of our leadership, rightly said, "If you think he, High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina Christian Schmidt, is legitimate, vote for him. Let's see. Vote for him, and if you don't, remove him." How can it be that 2 permanent members of the UN Security Council walked out of the room when Schmidt was to be elected? What does that mean? And are you ignoring Russia and China? And are you only listening to what France has to say, or Britain? The US was absolutely neutral and correct in this matter. Absolutely correct. But the British and the French have been extremely aggressive. So you don't care what Russia and China say? Do you think you can ignore their position? On the contrary, we even have an advantage among the permanent members of the Security Council. And even the countries that were affected by neo-colonialism and are now in the Security Council have spoken very correctly. And those who like to be told what to do by France. And what is France today? Without wanting to humiliate anyone, this country can't solve its internal problems. Something bad happens there every day. So why do you want to run our lives? When will you stop doing that? This is the same context in which they are pushing Schmidt. Look, I respect French history. I know it. I appreciate it. And our people, the Serbs, once supported France, glorified France without any justification, because it was neither our great ally nor a benefactor, as we imagined or wanted to imagine. We wanted it that way. But in the end, we even had the king of Yugoslavia, Alexander I Karađorđević, in 1934, assassinated in France, and we swallowed it. Although it would not have happened without the involvement of the French authorities at the time.